Hey there everyone, Nicole Madden here. We're doing things a little differently today. I'm going to give you your update on Hurricane Florence, but we're also going to be talking with the panel here and about some of the preps that you should be making, some things that may come up in the next few days with these experts here who are going to guide you through what's going to be happening as we head into the weekend with that severe weather approaching us. So let's start things off right now with the current situation with Hurricane Florence. This storm is slowing down immensely here, and it is just a massive storm. When you see the satellite imagery with all those reds in it, that's not rain bands, that's those cloud tops. So we have some very high cloud tops with this, but this is just showing you how massive this storm is. And although it's a category 2 now, that doesn't mean that anything has really changed with this storm besides a decrease in those winds. Really, we're still going to see a pretty big rainmaker with this event, and also the potential here for some flash flooding in the next few days. Now, along the coast, we have those hurricane warnings for the entire North Carolina coast. This goes into South Carolina as well, past Myrtle Beach. And we also are beginning to see some hurricane watches and tropical storm watches within the WCCB viewing area, namely here Richmond County now under that hurricane watch. We also have Chesterfield County underneath the tropical storm watch. That means that those conditions are likely within the next 48 hours. Namely, this is for wind that we're seeing. We could see sustained winds here, more than 30-40 miles per hour here for that tropical storm watch, but it's going to be a flooding event really with all the heavy rain that we are expecting. So this is just getting you aware and preparing you for what we will be seeing within the next few days and as we head into the weekend. Flash flood watch also in effect here. This is for Stanley, Anson, and Richmond counties. This goes through Saturday, likely to be extended here, and also we're going to see more counties added to that as well as we see this track set up for Hurricane Florence. Here's the latest at what we have. This storm has slowed down so much. Moving towards the northwest now at 10 miles per hour, so really pumping the brakes here as it inches closer to the coastline, and already seeing some of those outer rain bands get closer to the coastline here. Sustained winds still 110 miles per hour. This is a category 2 hurricane, and it's likely to make landfall Friday morning. So this is sometime after 2 in the morning. We're going to see that landfall near Wilmington. From that point on, it's going to lose its strength here, but it's still going to be a rainmaker, and that's the thing that we have been stressing nonstop with this, is that it has that potential here to be very slow moving, and that means dropping a lot of rain across the Carolinas. Now this track, a little bit different than what we had yesterday. It's not going to be diving as far south, so that means we're still not on the good side of this storm. We're still going to see the potential for some very heavy rain as we head into Sunday, even early Monday, even late Saturday, just giving you that timeline from late Saturday to early Monday. We do have the potential to even get a few isolated tornadoes. We're just on the wrong side of this system, even though it will be the remnants, even with these tropical disturbances. That's just the type of activity that you tend to see. They're very quick. They're hard to pick up on radar, and once you do see them, they're usually dissipated. So they are quick moving, but to a bigger extent, it's still going to be the potential for flash flooding that is our bigger worry. Now this storm will take an approach here quickly up towards the north, which is actually a little better news for us if it does move this fast. Still thinking it's going to be a little slower than what this is spelling out for us, but this is our guidance that we have right now, that this should be out of our hair by Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, rainfall potential through just Sunday morning. This is just one model run. Maybe a little overdone here, but for our South Carolina counties, especially through the southern Piedmont, we could see 9, 10, 11 inches of rain. So that is why we're likely to see these flash flood watches put in place. Even 5 to 6 inches of rain through the Charlotte area. And remember, it's still thinking that that really active day for us is going to be Sunday into Monday. So do keep that in mind. Now, we also have just an impact map just going through all the different regions, because I know we had a lot of questions about what will happen in my town. So here's what we're looking at as of right now, and things can change. This is still a fluid situation. For the mountains, total rainfall 6 to 8 inches. Now, wind not really going to be an issue for the high country. It's going to be the potential for flash flooding and landslides. You had a lot of rain earlier in the week, so any additional rainfall could cause some landslides that we saw even earlier in the summer. For the foothills, total rain a little less than that, 4 to 6 inches. That's still substantial here, so flash flooding going to be the big threat for you. You can see sustained winds around 20 miles per hour, gusts about 30, 35. throughout the Piedmont. 6 to 10 plus inches, even upwards of 12 inches will be possible here. Some isolated areas, 15 inches of rain. We're going to see gusts around 40, 45 miles per hour. Biggest threat, flash flooding, and you're going to see the same thing here for our South Carolina counties. 7 to 12 inches of rain, isolated areas more than that. We could see gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour, especially for the eastern fringe. It's more where we're talking Chesterfield County, Anson County, Richmond County. You're more in that zone to see those stronger gusts. And again, biggest threat, it goes across the line here with flash flooding being a little bit of a problem for us. So we're gonna go back, we'll talk more and we'll answer questions about the forecast, but it's coming and really there's not much we can do to stop it. Get your names and then find out a little bit about what you do and we'll go from there.
My name is John Wendel. I'm the Senior Communications Specialist with Stormwater, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Stormwater Services.
Okay, great.
My name is Oliva. I'm a Public Information Specialist with Mecklenburg EMS.
My name is Melissa Nicely, and I'm a Public Information Specialist with CMPD's Animal Care and Control Division.
And I'm Jerri Jameson. I'm the Regional Communications Officer with the American Red Cross.
Perfect. Good mix of people helping keep us safe and keep us in the know here. We're going to start with you, John. So flash flooding, a big deal for us. First of all, is there anything that people can do in advance to kind of help their property, help with the flooding potential?
Okay. Believe it or not, there are 3,000 miles of streams, creeks, tributaries just in Mecklenburg County. You know, that's a large number, 3,000 miles. And so we're trying to do what we can to keep these things open and let the water flow through. But what people could do to help out is keep those storm drains in front of their house clear of debris. You know, you think about how many leaves could be piled up and then the water backs up because of that. So keep the debris out of those storm drains. That's one of the things folks could do. The other thing is a lot of people will chop down some bushes and throw them into channels and things like that. Well, if the water gets too high, that all flows out and then it gets backed up. So, you know, cleaning up, it really does itself.
That's super good information. If someone sees some sort of flooding happening, is there anyone that they can call? Who should they get in touch with?
Okay, if it's an emergency, what's life-threatening, that's a 911 issue. If it's just, I see high water, there's a road, you know, that's a 311 issue.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely emergency, where it's life-threatening, that's what you want to talk about.
Yeah, and that's really important that you bring that up. We work together with these folks and other partners throughout the city and the county every day to prepare for emergencies like this. And so the communication is key. When John sees on his reports that there's flooding in an area, that information gets connected to us at our 911 call center. That helps our responders respond to calls, know which areas to be aware of, know which areas to avoid when responding to a call. So the public plays a really big part in making sure we all have the right information at the right time.
Okay, and staffing, do you have everyone ready in place? Are there extra people coming in for this?
Of course, we're just like you, monitoring the weather to see when do we need to ramp up staffing, when do we need to move people to later or earlier. So our crews are ready to respond and to surge up when the time is needed.
Perfect, thank you. And Melissa, we're just working our way down the line now. You're getting pretty busy as well. So do you have an influx of animals coming into the shelter? And what should people do if they have to evacuate? And this may actually fit in with you, Jerri.
We do. We're working very close with the Red Cross. So that's some great information we've been sharing. And the one thing we always like to remind everybody is don't forget your furry friends. So we've got to make plans for them as well. And so really to just kind of walk you through what we've been dealing with, we are working with the preparedness aspect, and we still have a little bit of time for people to do a couple things if they haven't thought to do this. I want to put a few things out there. We all know that microchipping and IDs are so important. You want to make a plan for your pet. If you should somehow become separated with your pet, you need to make sure that if they're microchipped, take a minute today, check that registration and make sure your phone number is current and your address is current. If there's a microchip and those information is not updated, then we have a hard time getting your animal back to you. So that's the number one thing that you should do right now as we're watching this, as soon as we're done. Check that microchip information. A lot of people forget to do that. So that's important. Make sure you have the IDs as well, because that really helps. And on my personal pets, I have 3, believe it or not, 2-sided IDs. I have 3 phone numbers. I have mine, I have the animal's dad's number, and then I have a really good friend who has a key to our house as well. So that way, if there's, they can't get one person, they can find another person. So the last thing I wanted to mention is, as you're getting prepared in the event that you have to leave, this is a good thing to do. This is one of my pet's latest medical records from the vet, and it's also his rabies vaccination certificate, the rabies certificate. I put it in a waterproof bag. He's also got one of his very important medications in here. And then I've written all of his information, our phone number and his microchip number on the bag and the address. So everything's there together. You can grab it. I have all these laid out already, believe it or not, with the leashes and everything else, just in case we needed to go quickly. So just be thinking about everything that you might need. And I want to move on to talk a little bit about the shelters. We have, per the Pets Act, we have all the necessities for sheltering animals at all the Red Cross shelters that are set up here in the Charlotte area. So what that means is we've taken crates, we've taken minimal supplies there, so that when people arrive with their pets, there's an area designated for them to care for their pets in. What we wanted to do is get the information out that when you go there, make sure that you're taking all of your information, any medications, food, bowls, all the supplies that you need. If you are arriving there, we'd like to see the dogs arrive leashed, and we'd like to see the cats or any other of the animals arrive in a carrier. And if you do have crates or airline carriers that you can fit, it's helpful if you bring your own, because we just have limited supplies of those. So that's kind of the pre-preparation if you're thinking about having to evacuate. And then later today, we're going to move into some messaging that's talking about the animals outside. So if you live in these flood-prone areas, we want to make sure that you're taking action early to get those pets into safety. The best thing is to keep them with you, keep them inside, and make sure that there's not going to be any flooding conditions that happen in your yard, especially if you have any tethered animals as well.
Great point. Okay, we're going to swing back around, but Jerri, when we were talking about shelters, you guys are very busy. Do you have a list that maybe you can provide where there are shelters set up or where people can find that information?
There are a couple places. For those who are used to smartphones, they can go and download the free Red Cross Emergency app. And then at the bottom, there's a section that says Maps, and you can click on that and you can list shelter locations. Or you can go to redcross.org/shelter, and that also lists shelter locations. So you can put in your zip code or your town, or if you know you're going to another town, and it'll tell you what's open and what's available there. I just want to mention this, that Melissa was talking about. This is extremely important for people as well. So that when you're preparing to go to a shelter, this should be in your emergency kit at all times. You can put it on a flash drive if that's easier to drop in, or a bag like that's waterproof with all of your important information. You want your homeowner's insurance, so you have your insurance policy, if you have insurance, maybe your mortgage, medications, your doctor's numbers, and things like that, so that should you have to flee quickly, you can grab it and go. And should you people tend to run out, and sometimes they grab their medication, but they may not have enough to get through. This allows the health services, we have public health nurses at every shelter in Mecklenburg County area, to assist in replacing those or getting additional medications. So that should be included in your emergency supply kit.
And I'm going to just piggyback on that. For us in emergency medical services, this plays a critical role, because if somebody's having a life-threatening emergency, the folks at the shelter, they get some information from the folks, but it's not like if your family was there that they know you. So having this type of information for yourself, sorry for the pets, we don't provide any it's critical in those first few minutes. Because 911, when you call, they're going to ask you questions about the person. So the more information you have, the better you can help out responders.
Yeah, that's good to know. It's something I haven't thought of, so that's a really good thing to know. All right. I was going to ask you, if people want to help, obviously we're not seeing that active situation yet. If people want to help out, what are some things that people can do with the Red Cross?
Well, with the Red Cross, you can go to redcross.org/volunteer, and we've set up an expedited process. So really within hours, you can be approved as a volunteer, because we do background checks on all of volunteers. You're working in shelters with vulnerable people who are stressed, at the time. But you can help serve meals, you can help clean cots, you can register clients in. So there's a lot of things that can be done immediately. And also then, if you are so called, you can continue on with the Red Cross and volunteer to respond later on to neighbors' home fires and things like that. But right now for Florence, it's an expedited process, and we do need volunteers. We're staffing several shelters, not just in Mecklenburg County, but around the western part of the state. So we need people, just to be quite honest.
And the best way to get in touch is that to go on the website?
Yep, redcross.org/volunteer. It'll ask you to put in your zip code, so that'll get you to a location closest to you. We do want to make sure, though, that if you're going to leave your area, as you were saying earlier, we're still not exactly sure what Florence is going to do. Make sure your home is taken care of, because you might leave for 6 to 12 hours if you're going to go work in the shelter.
Perfect. I kind of wanted to tie back with flooding when you brought up if your pet outside and you're in a flooded area. Is there any way that people can check? Is it just by memory, remembering like, oh yeah, our backyard flooded a while back? Is there anywhere we can look online and find?
You go to our website and you go to stormwater.charlotte-Mecklenburg, and there is a 3D flood map there. And all you have to do is plug in your address, and it will show you where the nearest floodplain is, if you're in, if you're out. But this could be a situation where there could be flooding outside of the floodplain. So, but this will give you an idea of, actually show you your property, where your house is, where the floodplain's located and how close. Apartments, it'll show you where the parking lot is. My apartment's high enough, but yet my car may be parked in a spot that's in the floodplain. So it's a good resource. And once again, that's stormwater.charlotte.org. It'll be the 3D floodplain map. The other thing I wanted to bring up, we're talking about how people can get interested into the safety aspect and watch the rivers come up. There's our FIN page. It's Flood Information Notification System. And what it does, it's automated. And it has rain gauges. And the rain gauges will obviously measure how much rain's coming down. And if it reaches a certain level, it automatically calls these guys. And then they know where there's some flooding going on. It'll tell us the water levels. And if it reaches a certain water level, it automatically goes to these guys. So there's a lot of automation that works between stormwater services and the fire department, and the police department.
Great. And for emergency services too, is there anything that's put out there that people can look and see, oh, I should stay away from that area? Or I guess that's the same thing, just keep an eye on it, but are there any alerts that go out? Or
So in regards to alerts, we want people to have common sense. The most common sense way is turn around, don't drown. It's a message being put out by our friends at the Charlotte Fire Department and Emergency Operations. We want people not to risk their life, to get to work early, to go to the supermarket. Please, if you see standing water, you don't know how deep it is. You don't know how fast that situation can change. It can be calm right now, but in 5 minutes, it can totally change. And the last thing we want you to do during Hurricane Florence is to meet the wonderful men and women of the Charlotte Fire Department and Mecklenburg EMS.
I guess, what would you say if there's something, is there a time when it's a non-emergency and people should be doing something like, if their power goes out, they shouldn't be calling 911 unless they have an emergency situation, correct? Like, what, do you have an idea, or can you give an idea of like what constitutes an emergency and a non-emergency situation?
Sure. So when there's a storm like this coming, people get scared. And what somebody's emergency might be different than what would be my emergency as a healthcare provider.
Yeah.
So what we encourage people, if it's your power going out, 911 is not going to be the place. 311 is available to give you information. You can call the power company. 911 is set up to handle multiple calls at a time and triage which calls are most important. So if you call up and say, my arm hurts, and somebody else calls up and says, my chest is hurting, we're going to send assets to the chest hurting. It's the higher priority. So don't be afraid to call 911, but check other resources before you call 911.
To piggyback on that a little bit, we've been getting a lot of calls over the last few days, and we've let 311 know. A lot of people are wanting to evacuate here in Charlotte their homes and leave the area, but they want us to board their pets at the shelter. And unfortunately, we're not a boarding facility, so we've had to turn those requests down. and then point them over to the shelters. If they wanted to leave their homes, they could go there and they can take their pets there. So we've kind of put that message out that unfortunately, that's not our role, but to talk about the 311, it's the same thing with us. Our priority calls are going to be if people see animals that are out in flooded areas and things like that. That's the cause that we're going to service first.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you know any fostering places, or is it you kind of just guide to the shelters?
So what we did was provide a link to a Google search that talked about boarding facilities in this area. And then we have also on our social media and website a link to pet-friendly hotels as well.
Blood drives. I know blood donation is pretty big. That's a big moment. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs blood, and blood has a shelf life. So we've got to keep replenishing it. It's the blood on the shelves right now that are saving lives today and tomorrow. So with everything on the coast, we've had a lot of blood drives of cancer around the coast. So what we're asking is anyone who's in an area that's not being impacted, right now in Charlotte, it's still safe to drive around and all of that. If you can, please donate blood. The Charlotte office on Park Road is a blood collection facility, so they're open. You can go to redcrossblood.org to find one near you. If you're able to, please do go and get blood so that we can keep the shelves replenished. Especially during times of disaster, you never know what the need may be, but usually the need rises also. So it's a combination, it's a perfect storm, so to say, where our collections go down, but the needs go up. So if you're able, please do donate blood.
Perfect. I guess we can kind of go back and forth maybe a little bit with this. What about, what are some things that people should have on hand if the power goes out? Is there anything that people should have? If there's rising water, I guess it would be get out for sure. But maybe...
A boat.
Yes, yeah, that would be nice. But some other things that maybe people should keep for their pets, keep in their house, just keep to be safe. If the power goes out and you don't know what's going on, you can't tune into the TV, your internet's down.
If I can jump in, if it's going to be extended power outages, obviously check with your power company because they usually can tell you an anticipated return of service time. But if it's going to be extended, or if you have any medical needs where you need electric and you can come to a shelter, there are things you should bring with you. You want to be comfortable, and while we try to provide, we can't provide everything. So if you have young children and you're planning or may have to come to a shelter, make sure you have maybe their favorite toys, some games to keep them occupied because they get restless. If you have elderly, make sure, again, if they have special needs, that special pillow, anything to make them comfortable to get through a few hours. We say always to plan for 72 hours. So those are the things that you should plan ahead. Charge your batteries of your cell phones, and always good to have flashlights with you. So when your flashlights and extra batteries, because you never know. Sometimes we've lost power at shelters. Usually it's not too long with the good generators, but be prepared.
And for us, I think what we would like to say is there are folks out there that have medical equipment at home that is powered or they need oxygen. So they need to work with the provider to have backup plans in place, because 911 should not be your first option. You need to prepare because there's going to be other emergencies going on. We will be there, but help us by helping yourself ahead of time. So make sure you have enough portable oxygen, make sure your power company knows that you have sensitive medical equipment, and create a plan. Create a plan, team up, talk to the folks at the Red Cross, talk to family members.
So always good to have a network of people around you too. Make sure everyone knows where you are.
Even 911 plans with redundancy. We have generators for our generators. So please learn from us.
Yeah, and you mentioned, so people know where you are, what we suggest is having a contact outside of any potential impacted area, so that you can all check in with that. And of course, they're safe and well. Everybody's using social media these days to check in. Red Cross, of course, also has that Safe and Well website where you can check in. But have someone outside any potentially impacted area that you can call and let them know you're safe, here's where you are, and all family members can call and check in.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm thinking cell phone, that Find My Friend app.
Yeah.
I know it's a little weird, but maybe this is a good time to turn it on so you can keep track of everyone. Yeah. I guess we have some thunderstorms coming too. We were talking about how to keep, the kids occupied so they're feeling okay. What about pets? What do you do if they start to get anxious? They can really feel the changes.
And we talk about this just with the storms in the summer. There are a lot of times with the fireworks and the thunderstorms in a normal time, a lot of animals, especially dogs, have reaction to that. I think one of the things that's important about if they're coming to the shelters, do bring some chew bones, some toys, some Kongs, a familiar blanket, or even if you can fit their dog bed into a crate or something like that. Anything with familiarity to them is going to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. So it is good, especially if you have younger dogs who need to have a lot of activity. Putting a Kong in there or a nylabone or any type of chew thing to keep them busy and occupied is going to help, just like the toys would for the children. Along the same lines to think about that. Anything that's going to help, and if it's a little bit ahead of time, right now you can call your veterinarian if you know that you have a dog that's particularly anxious, and they can provide some different medications to help with that as well.
Good to know. Okay. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to add in? And heard something, you're like, oh, I don't bring that up.
Well, the first thing I can think of right now is that, we were talking about the standing water and the don't drive through pump. You don't know if there's a hole in the ground underneath that water. The 6 inches of water, moving water, will knock somebody off their feet. You get a foot of moving water and your car starts to move. So just be aware of that. And you always hear turn around, don't drown, but it does make sense. More people die from flooding than any other weather occurrence.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that. You kind of take it for granted. I'm going to go through it.
Right, it's rain. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just rain. I've been through this before, but it's true. That's exactly right. That's what we're trying to put across, but it still happens. So it's a scary situation, and people are putting you at risk for that situation too if they get in that situation. So what would you like to add in?
Well, we can see it every day when there's an afternoon thunderstorm. We see our traffic accidents increase by up to 25% just with a little rain. It does change the driving conditions. It changes the walking conditions. It's probably, with this amount of rain, it's best to stay home, spend some time with the family, enjoy that quality time there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good call. So you want to add anything else in? Anything? Or Jerry?
Just as they were saying, 911 should be your last call. Shelters really should be your last resource as well. You should try to stay with friends and family where you'll be more comfortable and where you can settle in. The shelters are there, and we're prepared to stay open as long as we work in conjunction with emergency management on making that decision when to close. But then also, the shelter should be your last resort. No, we're always there, but if you have family or friend you can go to, that should be your first choice.
That's definitely a good thing. All right. That sounds really good. Yeah, same thing with those downpours. It's scary driving out on the road, and we are going to get these buckets. It's going to be raining buckets. There are going to be these downpours. It's going to put people in a dangerous situation. So that is the best bet. Is just stay home, prepare now. We have a decent day ahead. I shouldn't say a nice day because we're going to start to see those clouds shift in from Florence. So it's going to start to get a little eerie out. So now really is the time to take those preps. Traffic is probably going to be increasing as well as people are evacuating, maybe coming to Charlotte. So keep that in mind, and I'm sure you're seeing more of an influx.
Yes, we anticipate a lot.
Yeah. So be prepared and make sure that you guys are keeping safe here. We're going to have a lot more information on WCCBCharlotte.com. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Both of
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.